When I can throw a punch and leave a dent in the bag, that feels pretty good.
In studio with us today is Kristina Kjem, who has dedicated her life to empowering women through the art of boxing.
I literally spent 10 years trying to get in the ring. I had to put on my own event. Everything was against me. Nobody wanted me to do it, and I did it. Then, sitting there with the black eyes and going, okay, why is this so hard? And I was like, holy shit, girls just want to box.
In 2007, she founded Girls Just Wanna Box, an all-women's boxing gym and community. Protect the pretty is her motto, and she can get you boxing for fun or for real.
I'm Ingrid J. Monday.
And I'm Ina Koropkina.
So excited to step into this ring of conversation, Kristina. Thank you for being on our show.
Thanks for having me, ladies.
Where did this all start? How did this idea of opening a boxing company ignite?
Okay, so I am originally from Sudbury. Although I grew up as a figure skater since the age of 3, I was figure skating. Sudbury was a boxing town. The boxing coach there, he was Gord Apolloni. He was a coach for the Olympics at the time. So he would have lots of different club shows. So there was boxing shows happening all the time. And when I was in high school, I was hanging out with all the guys who were boxers. And of course, I was interested with it. Might have dated one or two. I just remember sitting there watching a boxing match and I was like, this is beautiful. Like, this is so cool. And I've always been interested in martial arts and martial arts movies and fight movies. And, I'd watched Mike Tyson with my dad and Christie Martin back in the day when she was on the Mike Tyson cards. And I just fell in love with it. And I was like, I can do that.
So some people think that boxing is too aggressive a sport for women and that it's not very ladylike.
I don't hear that anymore. That's kind of like an antiquated, in my world anyways. And I've created my own little world where I literally teach 5-year-olds to 65-year-olds how to box. You can definitely get out your aggression and your stress. You do have to be aggressive and you have to learn how to tap into that when you're actually fighting. I know some people still think that way, but I don't get asked that question as much, believe it or not, which is a good thing.
Yes,
I think.
absolutely.
As a woman, how strong can my body be?
Yes.
When I can throw a punch and leave a dent in the bag, that feels pretty good.
Sweet.
I like that.
Hashtag.
Or dent in the bag.
Dent in the bag, yes. Protect the pretty.
It's funny.
So boxing's a great sport for someone who doesn't have a team. Right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of team sports, but you don't always have a team to do the sports with. So boxing is one of those sports where it's just self-discipline. You can go on a solo mission. So I had the luck of meeting someone in university that trained me one-on-one for 6 months in boxing.
Yeah.
And then that was it. And I finally said, I want to get in the ring. No one else is really bringing me there. I had one coach who tried to turn me pro before I even had an amateur fight, which is crazy.
Explain why. Why is it crazy?
Okay, so just to break it down, amateur boxing is just like any amateur sport versus a professional sport, right? The biggest difference is wearing headgear versus not wearing headgear. Olympic style boxing, you're wearing headgear, you become provincial, you win at provincials, then you be on the Canadian team, then you travel internationally, Pan Am Games, world boxing titles, still go to the Olympics. And the other side, professional boxing, it's no headgear. It's what you saw Mike Tyson do back in the day, Muhammad Ali. He was also an Olympic boxer, but then transitioned into professional. So now that the women's boxing has entered the Olympics, and now you're seeing a lot more women, especially since the pandemic, they're advancing their careers in the professional realms. They're finally getting paid better. Not equal, almost equitable, not quite, but there's a lot more opportunity right now.
Is there blood and bruising and all that?
I love it.
Totally. I mean, it's the sport, right? Listen, you could be playing football and take a hit and get a concussion just as quickly as you can get a concussion from being punched. But the difference is in boxing, you're trained how to take a hit. A lot of those sports, when a hit happens, it's because it was a surprise or it's not something you were trained to take. In boxing, there is that chance, but there's a lot of protocols put into play.
So how often are you in the ring?
So I'm not in the ring anymore. So for myself, when I was saying I came to Toronto and I just wanted to fight, again, somebody was trying to push me into the professional before having a fight. And I actually had a had an injury.
Okay.
And I slowed it all down. And I said, okay, at the same time, I was promoting a corporate boxing event.
Okay.
So average person gets trained 12 weeks, 12 weeks, sometimes 18, sometimes a year, but they get to fight that one time. And it's usually in more of a glitz and glam type event. And I was going to fight in the first one that I was putting on because I didn't want to just, as an events person,
Yeah.
I didn't want to just fight in like a club show, which is at a tiny gym, and you know, there's kids eating pizza beside the ring, and it's like for me, it's like if I'm gonna do it, I wanted to make it a little bigger.
Okay.
But anyway, so, and first of all, you shouldn't plan an event and fight in it. I've said this a million times.
Yeah.
You should just be focused on fighting.
Yes. The power of focus.
It was still the best thing I've ever done in my life, the best shape I've ever gotten into my life.
Yeah.
And it gave me a certain level of just discipline, because you know that you're getting in that ring.
Yeah.
You are going to fight someone.
Yes.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Isn't that wonderful?
Yeah.
Because it's a symbol for life. Because
Yeah.
in life, you're going to run into impediments and you're going to run
Yeah.
into people that sabotage you.
Yeah.
And it's how you rise to the occasion.
And that's
right?
why I love this experience for the everyday corporate person. I love it for amateurs that train for a long period of time.
Yeah.
But that everyday person who says, I want to get into the ring. I think I want to do this. I want to challenge myself. There's something going on in my life. And I've probably licensed 300 to 400 average everyday people with the decade of corporate boxing events I've done, and got them in the best shape of their life, got them in the ring, face their fears, and they come out of that ring a different person.
Amazing.
Nothing they do in their life will ever compare to going into a ring and fighting someone in front of your friends, family, and colleagues.
Wow.
Yeah.
And this is both male and female we're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'm focused on just female.
Okay.
But those events that I did, I started Brawl on Bay Street with some people, and then I was Agency Wars forever. And then now I've been consulting on the Victory Charity Ball and Victory Gala, which is Pinball Clemens Foundation. All these events are raising money for charity as well. Yeah. So another reason to step in the ring. The whole point of these events, there's kind of like 3 reasons for these events. And why I moved into these events, and that's about the same time I started Girls Just Want to Box, because I was sitting at a Starbucks.
Okay.
It was after my fight, 2 black eyes, which were badges of honor. Except when I was with my boyfriend at the time. He was like, can you wear some sunglasses? Because it doesn't look good for me. And I was like, whatevs. But, you know, and I was sitting there and I was like, okay, that was a lot. And I don't know if you guys have had this experience, but I literally spent 10 years trying to get in the ring. I had to put on my own event. I had to go through all that stuff. You don't even know what happened at that event. Like, people were calling me for parking while I was warming up.
Are you serious?
Yeah, but I was doing all the things, right? It was fine. You know, like, I had so much fun with it. I had my friends from New York were DJs. They mixed the best walkout song for me.
Oh, sweet.
It was so cool. I had to have that experience to understand, even with everything against me, even though I lost, I will say one of the girls' coaches was a judge. That's not allowed nowadays, but... It's like, it was one of those things where you're like, come on. And I still almost won. And it was one of those things where it was like, wow, I fucking did that. And everything was against me. Nobody wanted me to do it.
Good for you.
And I did it, right? If you talk about obstacles being thrown in your face. Then, you know, sitting there with the black eyes and going, okay, why is this so hard? And I was like, holy shit, girls just want a box. We really just want a box. And then stuff just started flowing through me. And I sat there and I wrote like a whole program. I came from organized sports where there was levels and there was accomplishments and there was a road and there was a map and a plan. Whereas boxing, a lot of times you just come into a gym and the coach is like, sure, yeah, you want to box? Cool. Come to classes. And if you show how much you want to be there, maybe the coach will teach you something. So I kind of sat down and said, okay, if I got all the things I wanted from a program, from boxing, how would I have set it up? How would I organize it? So I created a 5-level program and it developed it over the years. So the first is diamond, right? So we're all diamonds in the rough.
Love it.
Sweet.
What's the first level of anything? Most women come into the gym and they can barely do a push-up. So it's about getting you strong. It's about giving you the basics and the fundamentals of boxing. And it's about becoming stronger, you know, like turning into that diamond, right? And people can stay in that level forever if you want. And we always go back to that level because in boxing, you always go back to your basics. The second level, it turned out to be lightning. So a lightning bolt's a symbol for the second program. So you take all your fundamentals and you just make it faster. Fast footwork, fast hands, fast all the things that you're stronger now, so you got to become fast. Moving into the third level, which is heart. Now you're at the stage where you have to decide where your heart lies. Are you boxing for fun or for real? Because if your heart lies in competition, you want to box for real, then you have to move into a different level. The heart level is kind of where you start maybe playing around with getting in the ring and sparring. So we have our heart level. The next level of boxing is the moon. So it's the strategy side of things. Okay. And then once you've become a fighter, and we can help you with that, and then we can take you to the fifth level, which is our star level. Some of the women in our ambassador programs, like Yvette Raposo, she's Canada's first female ring announcer. Cool. So we have an ambassador program where we work with women internationally. There's women all over the world doing what we're doing in different ways. And we've kind of set up the A-team, and we're kind of all working together to change things.
Do you know much about the Shaolin monks?
Yeah.
Implement any of that into your
Well,
boxing?
interesting enough, my boyfriend Kevin Perez, who's also a coach and runs Insight Boxing, which is our co-ed program at the gym.
Yeah.
So we run our gyms parallel. He's a monk. So he comes from the world of Buddhism, and he puts a lot of Buddhism into what he does and who he is as a person, which is why we get along, because I'm the opposite of a grounded monk energy.
So does he use the Shaolin monk punch, like because they teach you how to throw punches too, right?
Like we do teach you how to use your energy, and really punching comes from the feet. So you have to gather the energy from your feet first and then push it out through your punches, 100%. But there's technical ways on how to use your body and how to get your whole body weight behind a punch, which is really important for women, especially, right? So you could be the tiniest little thing, but you can pack a wallop.
So I wanted to touch upon this idea of victim and bully mentality. Okay. And when someone is really in their power and they study something like boxing, there's a certain confidence that they have within themselves that if anyone comes at them, they know they can take care of the bully. And so they send out an energy into the world that bullies stay away from, because they're like, I can't pick on this person.
Well,
they're
walk
grounded.
differently.
You walk differently. You hold yourself differently.
Yeah.
So have you had women that come to work with you that might have come from a background where they were put in a situation where they didn't have power and they learned to rise to the occasion and say, you know what, I can take care of myself?
Yeah, we did a brief moment in time where we did a program where we actually said boxing is my therapy. It is. Boxing is my therapy, and it can be your therapy. And I know therapy is hard to find a lot of times, and there's a lot of people on wait lists after the horrible things have happened to them. And I hate to say it, women who have been rape victims or abuse victims, like they kind of live outside their body. And we've done programs for these types of groups of survivors, and they say boxing brings them back into their body. Sometimes you're like, is this going to be triggering, or is this going to be whatever? But it's not. As far as what I've experienced so far, it's just really helped them claim a bit back and get into their body. I know there's a lot of women who've come into the gym and they're just like, I need to do something to take back my power, just like you said, take back my power. And listen, boxing isn't equal to what self-defense is. Like self-defense, you take a self-defense course and you learn how to like jab someone's eye out, or you learn how to kick someone in the knee, and that's not boxing. But yes, boxing can help you have a different sense of confidence. I see it in my teen girls. I love my teen class more than anything. And we have from 7 up to 17 years old in our teen classes. And these little girls come in, and some of them are bullied. Some of them are just looking to get fit, and they haven't found a sport. They don't like team sports. Some of them, I don't pick on them, but I'll be like, roll call, and I'll be like, what's your name? And they're like, Tanya. And I'm like, no, what's your name? Say your name. And I'm like, loud. And they're like, Tanya. And you're like, okay. And I'm like, guess what we do in class, ladies? We take up space.
I love it.
Oh, God bless you.
We're super loud, and so teaching them how to breathe when they punch, and making them do drills with each other where they're encouraging each other, and they have to yell 1, 2, and like really, use their voice and not be afraid to be loud.
Beautiful. I love that too.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So much fun.
So let's take you out of the ring now for a while.
Okay.
And let's say, who is Kristina?
I mean, I've helped people get in shape for years. I've helped people reach their fight weights that they need to reach for boxing. I've created fight weight programs. I've created all these health and nutrition things. But it wasn't until the pandemic hit, and all of this is going to make sense. My personality as a kid, my lack of fear, my impulsiveness, my all these things that I've done my whole life, all leads to my ADHD diagnosis.
Interesting.
Why did I find boxing? Because it's one of the best sports for ADHD. So I found out that I had it during the pandemic, and then I went on to get my functional nutrition counselor's certificate because I wanted to understand how food and nutrition could play a part in my symptoms. And I realized all the symptoms that I had that nobody could diagnose, suffering in silence, was because of ADHD. So it wasn't until I figured that out that I was really able to streamline my life and understand myself and forgive myself. All those things in my life that I thought were character flaws are actually not my choice. Being late, taking on too many projects, disappearing in my own world and hyper focusing for 12 hours and, creating new projects, creating new things. Like for every 5 projects I've got off the ground, I have, 20 other projects in a notebook that I'll probably never get to.
I used to be like that, and I'm trying, and Ina's definitely like that.
She holds
Well, I'm just going to say, y'all might be sisters.
Yeah,
y'all might be
we all
sisters.
are.
Because if you think about it, we have a certain type of energy, and not everybody can hang with that energy.
Yeah, it's different.
So, and not everybody, like, have you been told your whole life you're a lot?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have. And not everybody a lot of people like a lot, but then when they see what a lot is, they're like, oh no. They do say 80% of entrepreneurs have ADHD because why would anybody do that? Why would anybody be an entrepreneur? It's very difficult.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So,
So what are like top things that you discovered that help with the ADHD?
Yeah.
well, all these things I was naturally drawn to in life allowed me to be a high functioning person with ADHD. So boxing, exercise, good nutrition, very important. I love music. Music just helps me get focused and into my zone, and it just makes me happy. Doing the things that I love, right? That makes you happy. Having a purpose, that makes you happy. People with ADHD love to help people. That makes you happy and feel good. So that all kind of lines up with what I do. I am super creative. I have to have a creative aspect to everything I do. I add creativity to my sales. I add creativity to my events, sponsorships, marketing, branding. And then when I can wrap it all into a pretty bow, it's even better, right?
Yeah.
So it's people with ADHD, our brains are working like, 10 times faster than everybody else's. So it allows us to put the things together that nobody else can. The problem which makes you high functioning ADHD or not is whether you can put it all together and execute.
Right.
Execution is the thing that a lot of times makes people hold back. So I don't know if I answered your question.
You did, yes. It's completing the journey. So there's a call to action. This is what we talk about Hero's Journey, season 1. You get these spontaneous evoked ideas, these sparks that you have to embark on. And it's completing the journey and seeing that project, that idea through to the end.
Yeah. What I've learned over time is that I had to be okay with the end of the journey not looking exactly how I thought it would. What I did with CBA and the gym that I created was beautiful. It was 3 levels. It was everything that I ever wanted a gym to be. It was inviting. It had like crazy long bars so you could have coffee while watching people spar. It was comfortable for women and it was comfortable for corporates and it was clean and it didn't smell. But, for me to have to leave that, I literally thought it was over. I had to mourn it before I left. I had to stop looking at all the other things that I was doing that were killing me, and taking all my energy, and stop doing those things to just focus on Girls Just Want to Box and evolve that. And it's still evolving, you know, since 2007 when I started doing all women's classes, when no one else was doing it. And people would say, why do women need all women's classes? And I'd be like, listen, when I get in the ring to fight, I'm not fighting a man. So I need to train with women and spar with women because I fight women. Because otherwise I was training with men, sparring with men, and then I would fight a woman. And a woman would fight completely different than a man. And I've heard from other coaches, well, my female fighters don't want to train with women. They're fine training with men. I'm like, okay. You know, like, okay then. Whatever you want to believe. It's just this backwards thing that women have convinced themselves in the sport of boxing. I was the same way. I was like, I can get in the ring with a man. I can spar with a man and I'll kick his ass.
Good for
right?
you, but
good for me, but then I'm taking punches from a man that's 60 pounds heavier than me usually. And for what reason? Why am I going to take punishment to show I'm tough?
Right.
It doesn't make sense. You would never put a lineup of women playing football against a bunch of male linebackers. Like, think about that. To run into each other. Does that make sense? I'll put women in the ring with men who weigh the same and are at the same level of their boxing career.
Right.
Right? So, like, our competitive teams spar against guys all the time. But let me tell you, with Girls Just Want to Box, we run all female sparring for anyone. So with Girls Just Want to Box, we're really creating community around sport. It's just not our gym versus everybody else's gym. So we invite women to spar every month. We do box and build courses now where we're kind of like bringing in meditation and breath work and nutrition and other things and teaching women all over, not just our fighters and our members. Like, it's really a community that we're trying to build because we're only going to be able to get stronger with this community of women who, again, just love the sport of boxing and inviting and making it comfortable for anybody at any age to join. That makes sense.
Great
and any
mission.
fight weight. And any fight weight. We have women in way over 200 pounds who are fighting. Boxing is a cool sport because it's based on fight weights. So you can be any weight and compete. And then you can, if you drop a weight, then okay, you can fight in that weight. But you can come into the sport at any weight. And a lot of people think, oh, I have to get in shape to go into a boxing gym. It's ridiculous. You go into a boxing gym to get fit. And so you can get fit the quickest.
The gear is completely different from what the men use. What do they run into when they're using men's equipment instead?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, running the gym that I did for almost a decade, I would have glove manufacturers come in and I'd be like, where's the women's glove? And they'd be like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, where's the women's glove? Like, our bodies are built differently. In almost every sport, they just shrink it and then they make it pink and they throw out one style. And, you know, so nobody would tell me what was in a glove. So I went through a long process with my new business partner. Together, we redesigned the glove in different size variations. And I think you asked me somewhere, who's your accountability partner?
Yes.
So my business partner, Helene Jaffine, is my accountability partner. Cool. And we are the most neurodiverse pair in the world. So I have ADHD, she has OCD. So you can imagine, you know, like we definitely balance each other out, right? I'm all over the place and she's my accountability partner. And she's like, here's the plan, here's the organization, here's the this and that. So I come up with, you know, a lot of the vision things. I'll do the design on the gloves, and I'll go into a hyper focus where I literally just started ripping apart gloves and making people tell me what's in the gloves, how do you make it. Our gloves are designed to fit women properly. So to answer your question, a lot of times a glove is made to fit a man's hands, so they're very large. So your hand's moving around in the glove. It's shuffling around in the glove.
I've had that experience.
Have you?
Yes.
Okay.
It actually hurt my wrist.
Exactly. So you want a glove that's snug on your hand. Our bag glove has a 4-layer foam, so it absorbs the shock better of the punch and keeps your hand in a better punch. The wrist should actually be on your wrist. A lot of times you put a glove on and the wrist is here.
Yep, done.
Remember that?
Too. Yeah, all the mistakes.
So our gloves and our sizing, the Velcro is on your wrist because it's supposed to protect your wrist and keep it straight when you're punching. So, you know, we're creating the lines. We've created a better sparring glove to the point where people think they're bag gloves. Like, male coaches will be like, those are not sparring gloves, they're bag gloves. And we're like, no, dude, they're just the right size. So to your eyeball, they look like a bag glove, but they have 1.5 inches of foam, and the proper foam that you need for sparring, which is a different type of foam. So at the end of the day, it's like Helene she uses this analogy all the time, is like women don't wear men's running shoes for the most part, right? And why is the glove so important? Well, you wouldn't run with shitty running shoes. You shouldn't box with boxing gloves that don't fit you properly. So, we've also created better coaching gear. Because I was using hand pads that were for men, and they were like this big, and then it didn't fit, and I was getting a lot of injuries. And so that more longevity, less injuries, and of course they're all cute.
Awesome.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's amazing. Thank you so much for being in studio with us today, Kristina.
Yes. Where can our listeners find you?
Girlsjustwannabox.com. @girlsjustwannabox is our Instagram. The best thing about our classes is we still offer them all online as well via Zoom. So we're doing the day box and build camps, and anybody can come to those.
Okay.
And again, we're offering those once a month or every other month, and it's just kind of like really diving deep into some boxing techniques and theories, and it's just keep creating our community, and stay tuned for some very cool upcoming boxing events.
Okay.
Wonderful.
You gotta come watch the fights live.
That sounds fun.
Yes.
Okay. Well, maybe we'll come to an event or something.
You don't have a choice because I might need a photographer.
Okay. You're right. Okay. We'll talk for sure.
Okay.
Sounds
Cool.
amazing. Thank you again for joining us.
Welcome to Rise Up and Fix It, a podcast dedicated to empowering women.
A podcast dedicated to empowering the creator within you.
I'm a writer of the book, The Secrets of Becoming a Boss Bitch with a Heart of Gold. I'm a photographer, filmmaker, and producer, and people know me as Ms. Monday.
And I'm Ina Koropkina, actress, producer, and creative director of Jewel Branding Studios. Please support us by clicking on that subscribe button and tell others about our podcast. Thank you for listening.